So I'm almost ready here. By the time I get set up, we'll have an audience. Canvas. So now I'm frozen. There we go. Okay, I'm almost set up. I'm going to open up another one for GitHub. Okay, how are you guys doing? It's nice out for a while. Tomorrow it's supposed to be rainy again. Oh, Ben, why is this so slow? Okay. So one of the things, I am going to give you some time today and probably on Thursday to work on the client, but I want to talk about a little bit of what else is coming up. So there is a GitHub link. I did put all the code we did in class on GitHub, and if you want, I can walk through it a little bit more in Visual Studio if you want. So I think you sent out the announcements, right? That you guys know that I will be gone for all of next week. I've never missed a whole week before, but I'm going to next week. So I want to give you stuff to work on. You don't have to, but if you might want to. The lab should be open, right? And if we can get some people in, and you can work on things together. So under the assignments, we've only got a couple, really one more assignment. And then the final project. So this one is theoretically due at the end of this week, so we're behind, right? I want to show you that. I want to show you a little bit that you can get started on it. You can probably do it on your own. When we come back, I'm going to try to adjust the time. We might end up doing it together anyway, just to get it done, but not take too much time. But I want to show you if you want to start working on that while I'm gone. One of the things that I wanted to show you is that there's a 3-part tutorial on how to do it. So what you get for free, modifying the generated code and creating a controller and use from scratch. All the code from the tutorials is on the GitHub. Right. So I'll just show you a little bit what the tutorials look like. So if you click on that, slowly, it gives you a kind of an overview of what's going on. It gives you like a picture step by step for what to do as you go through. And it basically will walk you through this. The first part here walks you through just running the wizards. You're not changing anything. You're just getting what the wizard gives you. All right. I did show you a little bit of the. I don't think I changed anything. No, it's just looking at the code it generated. The thing is that the wizard will give you that pretty well works for basic CRUD. Do you guys know what CRUD stands for?
Create, read, update.
Right, create, read, update, delete. So it gives you that basic functionality with the database. That's not necessarily what you want for a website, but that's what it gives you. Do you guys know, and I'm not going to go forever on this because we'll talk about it when I get back, but do you guys know what MVC stands for? Yeah, model view control. So the idea is that the model is your data, and the view is your web pages or your display, and the controller's job is to get the data from the database to the web page or from the web page to the database. The controller is sort of the gatekeeper between the model and the view. It's a very common pattern for setting things up, and Microsoft has a wizard there. So one of the things you might do, just try while I'm gone, is just run the wizard, at least do that much, and kind of look at what you get and play with it a little bit. If you go to the next one, it talks about taking what the wizard does and modifying it a little bit. All right, so doing just making some changes to what it does, because it's one of the things that it does, like when you show all of the, this is with book review, but when it shows all the reviewers, it shows their hashed password and everything. You don't want to do that. So just make, like deleting a couple of fields from the display, changing a couple of, just a couple of little details about it. So what this does is it walks you through just taking what the wizard created and making a few modifications. The last part, and again, this is just if you want to, is basically adding a section from scratch, creating your own, adding something to the model, creating your own controller, creating your own view. Just doing it from scratch for just one thing, not for like the whole website. So the first one is just the wizard. If you can't, if there's anything you could do this while I'm gone, I would try to like run through the wizard. Right. Again, it gives you all the steps there. A lot of it is really familiar, or should be. You're running the data entities, right? That's your model. The data entities classes are your model. It automatically in the wizard creates just the controllers and the views for you. So what you can do is just look at what it made for you and see if you can understand it. All right. It takes a while. There are the forms are a little bit different. One of the things about the forms is that most of your controls are no longer there. You can't drag and drop controls. You're pretty well have to write your own HTML with the MVC. Okay. So it's there to look at. As I said, since I'm going to be gone, we'll talk about it when I get back. But if you guys had sort of a vague familiarity, at least have went through the wizard, it might help, just to help you understand. Now the other thing, so it's all there, and the code is all up here on the, on GitHub. So if you wanted to look at all the code, it includes all of the generated code, right? It includes everything that the wizards did. It includes the code from all three things, and it is huge. It's like it's not huge in terms of gigabytes or anything like that, but it has something like 160 files. But you should be able to like unzip it and run it. Does that make sense? If you wanted to. Okay, and then the very last assignment. And if you want to not, the wizard again, I would suggest at least running the wizard. The final project is basically just to make a website that does these things. And you can use any of the tools that we've covered, although I am going to suggest, if you want to wait on this, that the MVC makes the easiest shell for this. because it'll do 90% of it, and then you just need to go through and modify some things. But a general information page, just sort of an open page where you say, hello, this is Community Assist, a place to log in. We've done the login 2 different times, and they're, it's pretty much the same each time. And if you wanted to use the services, you could do that too. You can use the MVC or that. A place to make donations, you've done that, right? You've done a page where you did a donation. Page to apply for a grant, that's kind of in the service part that we're making now. A place to see your donations if you are a donor, and then a place to see your grants if you applied for assistance. And you're free to do whatever layout makes sense to you. Most of the stuff that we've done, I just separated things out on separate pages because it's easier to think of, it's not necessarily how you would design the website. What else is there? And I said you can use or adapt the elements that you've seen. So here's a little thing with the MVC. The MVC makes the login part difficult. So if you do it, I would accept it without the login. The login, I'm not sure why it is so hard to do that, but it's really hard to transfer the login. If you figure that out and show me, then that would be great. And I said you could add anything else. Just add one thing to the website, whatever you want. That's not part of, and I said add some CSS. I'm not going to grade on prettiness. I just want like a linked file with the CSS. Some of you are really good at CSS if you want to really arrange things. So that's the final project. I'm hoping to give you at least a week, preferably a week and a half or 2 on that. So I get back. So let's look at the calendar. So today's the 23rd. The 29th is a holiday. And I'm going to be back on the 6th. So probably on the 6th we'll do the MVC. When is our last day?
16. 18 or 16.
Is it just, well, so 6th, last day of class, or is that the last day of finals?
Last day of finals. 16.
Let me look, because if that's the case, we're not going to have much time. If that is the case, what we'll do on the 6th is we'll do the assignments, MVC assignment together, just to get it done so you have some time. Let me look at the Seattle Central, just Central, there it is.
Finals are usually done by Wednesday, correct?
Not always, depends on the quarter. So that's summer, we don't want that. Fall, so do we need to go back to the 2016, 2017? Spring quarter 2017. 16th is the end. So we don't have much time, so I'll have to, we'll do the MVC together. As I said, if you preview it, it would help it go faster. But we'll do it together. On the final project, you can work together if you want. And I will help you. And also, because I'm not giving you quite as much time as I would like, I will be very generous on the grading. So if you just get something there that kind of works, I'll probably be okay. The idea of the project was just to kind of bring together all these pieces, and see if you can make an actual kind of functional website out of it. All right, so I'm going to let you work on the client today. Do you guys have any questions about it before I do it? Do you need me to go over anything? Do you remember it after a weekend?
Probably.
Let me do a really, really quick overview. So I'm going to open up the book review client as soon as I can. And what I'll do is I'll just walk through what we did, just real quickly, walk through what we did last week. I don't think that the client should be easier than the service was. That being said, I can't promise that, but I think it should be. All right, come on, update, finish. Nothing ever happens quickly. I had trouble sleeping last night. I don't know why.
Too much going on in the world.
Maybe. All right, so I'm going to open book review client. So for this to work, the service has to be running too, right? Oh, what error? You guys have had this happen before too, right? Usually killing it and restarting it fixes it. It's when interesting all the errors that happen in this virtual machines that I've never had occur at home. You guys are awful quiet.
I'm on there.
Yeah. Are you guys actually going to do anything while I'm gone? That's a good open question, I suppose.
I need to go in. Behind.
Yeah, the labs should be open. If they're not, just ask at the desk, they'll open it for you. I've asked them to open up the lab. I'm not sure who would be a good tutor for this, but Amy might be okay. I don't know if anyone else. Kira maybe, but he had some issues with the end of this because of that virtual machine issues.
I remember him being very angry about it.
Yeah. So I'm just going to open a website. I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to open the service first, I think. Where is this? Not from the desktop. Let's go to documents. So I'll open the service, I'll run the other, and then I'll just walk through it. Okay, so the service needs to be running, and I'm just going to run it. The way, if it's running, then that little test dialog box will be up. I wanted this to be a quick review. Come on, you can do this, you can run. Maybe, if this doesn't go, I'm not. Okay. All right, come on, you can do it. This is so slow. I know I'm spoiled, but still. All right, so when this is running, if you right click down here, you can do another, I could start book review client here, but I'll just start another Visual Studio. And then I'll load it from there. But if you right click the client and choose Visual Studio, you can have 2 copies of Visual Studio. You can have as many copies as you want running. I would try not to go beyond 2 in the virtual machine, but I've had 3 or 4 running and it's okay. That's also something you can do if you're, if you want to see the, like my sample and yours, you could have 2 copies running. You can also load multiple solutions in the solution folder. So I'm going to do open website, and we'll do the book review client, and then hopefully you won't have errors and I can show you what's going on. Okay. All right, so I'm going to close this, but do the solution. All right, so basically with the solution, let's just go to the default ASPX. We did a login, so I'm just going to look at the design. Right, we just did a login so that we could do that. If we look at the code for that, it's not that different than what we've done before. The one difference is that we're making a reference to the service, right? Because we added the service reference. Do you guys remember how to add the service reference? Why don't I walk through that all the way up to, yeah.
The service, the one that has to be open and running, which one was that again?
So that's the one that's a service. If I go back to it, it's the one that has the interface and the service. And when you do, so let's look at this. To make the service reference, when this is running, it has its address here. And if you click on that and right click, you can copy that address. I mean, you could just do Control-C too. Then if you go to your client, if you haven't added the reference yet, basically just at the project level, right click, add. And what you want to add is a service reference. I'm going to take it all the way up, except I won't add it because it's already there. I'm going to do Control-V just to put in the website, right? Now this could be, if you had it in IIS, this would look just like a regular HTTP address. It is here, except that it's localhost, and then it's a port number, right? And then it's the name of the thing. When you make it in IIS, you give it a name, and that's, you can address it by that name. You don't necessarily need the port number and things like that. So if I say go, it shows me the book service here, and if I click on that and open it, you'll see that you have the methods here. You should give the service reference a name and then just do OK. And that adds a service reference. Okay, there's another piece of this that you might want to do. If you find that you have to go back to your service to make a change, and that can happen, right? You find out that what you did in the service isn't exactly what you need in the web page. Once you've made a change, notice how it has this folder, book review reference, that's what I named it. You can update your web service references. And what that'll do is it'll kind of reload the definitions. So if you've made changes in the underlying service, this will copy the changes to the client. Otherwise, it won't know that they're there, right? It doesn't refresh automatically. The files that it got the first time you connected are the only files that it has. So if you added a method or you changed a method, it's not going to know it unless you update it. So there's that. And then so we made our reference, book review reference, and then there's always a client, and I just gave it a name, and then you make it new, and then you can use that like sc.login, and it will tie into the login method in the service. We pass it the username and the password, and it will return the user key, because the service does that for us. We don't have to do that again, right? The service will return the key. If the key is not equal to 0, that means it's a real person. And so we save it into a session variable, which allows us to like do a query where it's only based on that one person. Because that session variable will be there as long as the person is on the website. So when we want to see the donations for a particular person, we can select all the donations where the person key equals this, right? We can use this to limit what they see. You can also use it for security, in the sense of you can, at the top of a page, you can say, if this session is empty, then go back to login, right? So they can't see the page unless they're logged in. Does that make sense? If you've ever done PHP, they have sessions too. It's not a Microsoft thing. It's a web thing. It's how you keep. There's actually, if you wanted, you could get the actual session key, which is a long string of numbers. It's how websites keep different users separate from each other. You know, so you don't see how somebody else is browsing the same site. There could be thousands, hundreds of thousands of people on the site at the same time as you, but you only see what you're doing. And the session variable is what helps that happen. Everybody that comes in is given a session variable. Yeah.
All of that online, because my computer's like updated.
Yeah, this could all be on one line. All of this is on GitHub.
I know, okay.
Yeah, I posted it all on GitHub.
Oh, perfect.
I'm just talking through it again because I figure you've all forgotten it over the weekend.
Yeah, it was for last week, right?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
So that's the default, is the login. The main thing is the connection. If the result is not equal to 0, because that's what it returns if it's bad. So if it's not equal to 0, it's good. If it is 0, then it's an invalid login. Okay, and I don't think I forwarded you anywhere from here, but you can. So we got the register. And again, if I do the design, it just has this. I copied this in. If you remember, I just copied this in from the other assignment, from the data entities assignment.
Yes.
Yeah, and you can do that if you want. If you have the validation controls, then you also need to add the jQuery scripts. And I'll show you real quickly again how to do that. You manage NuGet packages. You go to browse. You want to do ASP.NET.S will get you there. And you want the ASP.NET Script Manager. And here it says uninstall because they're already installed. But you can install them. The other option is just to remove all of those validation controls. For those of you that know how, if any of you do, it's quite appropriate to just ignore these controls and just write your own jQuery validation, if you prefer. So that's how you get the scripts. I think it's in the video, and it's in a couple of the different blog things that I have. All right, so let's look. So when we do the registration code is, let's go to that. So I just, again, kind of did from, this was there before, I just did the, made strings for all of these from the text boxes. You don't have to do that. You could just assign the text boxes down here, but I think it's a little clearer. I made the reference to the service again. One of the differences is that this is a reference to the service rather than a reference to the entities. Then I created a reviewer. Notice it says book reference, which is our reference to the service reviewer. Through it, you can get access to all of your classes that you need. So I made a new reviewer, and then I just assigned the username, the last name, first name, email, and password. And then I passed it, SC again is our reference, to the method in our service that took a reviewer as an argument. So again, the point of all of this is just to bundle it. It would also work if your service had said, pass me this string, this string, this string, this string, and this string. So we'd have had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 strings. That would also work, but it's just more efficient to pass it as a bundle, as a class. It's worse with Community Assist because you have more like 12 things to pass. So if you put it all together, it makes it easier. So we just passed that, and basically, if the result is true, because it returns a Boolean, then it redirects. Once that means that you registered properly, so you go to login. Otherwise, I just put something went horribly wrong. I did a simple new review, I think, didn't I? No, I just left that empty. I think that's where we were, but then I decided just to do get books. The get books, just do a quick query. And what I did is I said just SC get authors. This is authors, not books. Oh, this is to fill the author list. Right, and then we get the drop-down list, data source authors. And so this basically tells them to choose an author. Did I do anything else on this page? Was that where I stopped? Do you guys want me to finish this, or are you guys okay with it? Let me run this and see, because I think that there's some pieces that aren't there. It may not be that you need them. You might prefer just to have the time. So I'm on default. Let's register, log in, and then I think I just had a list of authors. I didn't do the rest of it, which I was going to do the review. Or all the books by an author. Well, let's actually register. Do I want to register? Do you guys, I don't know if you want me to do that. I think to get to the next page, I don't think I have a link to the next page. I'm just not sure I want to spend my time registering. Let's go here. I'm just going to go to get books. I want to run that page and see what's there.
This one is done.
What?
This is done.
Is it done?
Yeah.
But I think it's just a drop-down list. Did I get the books?
Yeah, you were entering the alternate and you will get it.
I don't think I am. Maybe you finished it. Let's finish that real quickly and then we'll call it good. I'm certainly, just because it might, there's a couple of things to show you there that I think I showed before, but you might have noticed that whatever I chose, it went back to get author. Does anybody know how to fix that? So let's get books. So if it's not post-back, right, you need to do that because otherwise it refills the list every time. So if you say if not, it's post-back, if you remember, we did this a long time ago. It's a Microsoft word, but it's a kind of a basic web concept. Every time you go back to the server, it redraws the web page. So it reinitializes everything. So your list goes back to the top. So what Microsoft basically said that the first one isn't considered a postback, but all the others are. So if it's not a postback, if it's not, except for the first load, it's not going to go back to the list and refresh the list, which allows it to keep the value that you choose. There's another piece to this, which we could look at in runtime if you want, is that it has some hidden fields that store the values in the list and repopulates it from the hidden values. So one of the things that there's one piece of this that's missing that we could do real quickly, and I would show you a little tiny bit, and then I will post it all up to GitHub again. Actually, I just need to post this one page to GitHub. I'm going to, on the web page, it has a grid view. I just haven't used it. So let's go back. So Git books, there's a Git books with author, right? So I'm going to do trying to think of what kind of an array I did. Let's look at the service. Git authors, Git books. Git books by author, and it returns a list of books. So I want to do book review, book rev reference dot book equals sc dot get, actually not get authors, get book by authors. And then it wants a string in here, and I'm going to do drop down list one, or author drop down list dot, let me get rid of this, and I'll break the line. Dot selected item dot text. I don't think I have to turn that to string. Yeah. So what I'm doing is I'm making an array of books. And in order to get book, I have to go to the book review reference, right? It gives me access to the classes that are in the service. I'm calling the get books by author, which is in our reference. And then I'm passing it what's in the whatever author we've selected. Does that make sense? You could assign that to a string and then pass the string if you want. So then all I'm going to do is grid view one dot data source equals books and grid view one data bind. You always have to do the data bind. This should actually be all I have to write to fill the things. Now this is, notice this is protected. This is an event based on changing the index in the list. So I have to select something other than the first element. That's why I put up here I added an item that says choose author, and I get the 0 index. So you always have to go past it to choose something, because otherwise there's no change in the index. If you were just to choose the first one, it wouldn't work. Let's see if this works, and then I will post it, and we will be done. As I said, I think I just wanted to kind of review what was here. So if I choose an author, so let's choose Kim Stanley Robinson, and it shows the book I have for him is Shaman, which is actually a pretty good book. I actually have several books by him, but I didn't enter them. If I were to choose Neil Gaiman, there's 2 books, Neverwhere and American Gods. Anyone else? I don't know. Did I enter a book for that person? No. Infinite Jest. So anyway, it's working now, right? It's not pretty, but you could make it pretty. And it would be more interesting if there was more data. But so let's go back. Any questions on any of this before? I will post the last little bit I did. I'll add it to the GitHub. Yeah.
I think at the end of the last class, you were doing something and it didn't work. Did you undo that or did you?
Well, I think I did. I think we finished. So I think one of the things that I did is I may have went back to the service. I don't even remember what I did last week. I'm going to stop the service. I think I did get books by author. I think I added this last time.
Oh, okay.
Because I was thinking that I didn't want to do a review because it was going to be too complicated.
Okay.
There is in the logs and in that document that's in the files, it actually sets up adding a new review, but you have to choose an author. You have to choose a book. And the thing is, it might be a book or an author that's not there. So I also had alternate. So if it wasn't there, it would open up a dialog box to add a new author. And if it wasn't, the book wasn't there, it'd open up a dialog box to open a new. It was a way complicated, and I didn't want to do that. And nothing in your assignment is anywhere near that. So what I did instead is I added this method to get the books by author. And then I updated the reference, and then I will check to see if I updated this on the GitHub too. If not, I'll update that as well. You have a good memory though, because I'd forgotten I did. So this was just to give an example. And one of the things that I was having problems with when you test this is that it works okay if you say what author names this and then you just do a list of books. It wouldn't let me add the authors. And there's a reason for that, although I think I could fix it, but it would also be complicated. Does anybody, because you have an array inside of an array, right? So authors for a book is an array because a book can have more than one author. And the controls like the grid view and actually the tester here, they don't like it if you do that. If you have an array inside of an array, it fails. So I just eliminated the author part of the output. So it has the ISBN, the interdate, the title, but it doesn't have the author information. I think that's where I was failing, as I was trying to put the author in and it was failing. Yeah.
Can you go over how to add the register.axpx again?
The service?
Yeah, I tried to do it along with you last time, but it didn't show up on my list of possible things.
Okay, so let's go back to actually, so I'm going to save all of this, although it should be saved. And what I'll do is I'll open a new one and I'll just make a reference. And I'm just going to leave it as website one, just empty. right, so one of the things is I have to have the service running, which it's not right now. Okay, so, whoa, that's because I'm in the wrong page. Is that right? No, it's not in the wrong page. Why was that? Okay, so once this is running, what you need is to get the address, right? So I'm just going to click on the address there. If you right click, it says copy address, although Control C probably works as well.
I'm getting the same error that you did, but I didn't get that last week.
So you might be running from the wrong page. So click into that page. Go, just go back. Click into this page. It may be that your cursor isn't in the page just by looking. So you want to get, once you've got the address, copy it. You go to the other Visual Studio, the client, and I'm going to right click, add, and we want service reference. You got that? And then paste, go. You don't have to look at it, but I usually do to make sure that it's all there. And then I do OK, and it will add the service. Now, I didn't name it this time, so it's just going to be called Service Reference 1. So if I do any kind of code and I want to address it, it'll be Service Reference 1 dot. I think, let's add a page just to look.
Does that add the register.aspx?
Register. Well, no. So if you want to add the web page, oh, you wanted to bring that over from your other?
Yeah, because I've already done that.
Oh, I'm sorry. I misunderstood what you're asking. So if you want to bring over that, what you want to do is add existing item. Browse to, so I'm going to do book review client and do register from there. I'm going to add it, and it will add it with the code, right? So I've added the existing.
Now, what if it adds without the book?
It should add both.
So
So,
happened to me, it only added one. It only added the register.as.
And there wasn't anything underneath?
yeah, there's no register in my list. That's the issue I was having last week.
So did you do it in the, like the data? You have to kind of, there won't be in the list. You have to go browse for it.
What do you mean?
So it's going to be, we're bringing it in from another assignment.
Right, this is the assignment.
Right, but so you're doing the client one.
Yes.
So where you want to go to get it is, go back up, probably the data entries. And then register.
That's not where you went, is it?
Yeah, well, so I went to, I did it to call it. I could have got it.
So that should be it.
Now the other thing about it, if you bring in the register one in particular, is it won't work unless you bring in the JavaScript.
Yeah, I did that.
You did that, so you should be okay. You can always, if you have something like the login page, add existing item, default here. So this is book review client. And you could get it from, because you haven't written the client yet, but you could go back to the data entities or anything. You could go get the login. you're going to have to change the code a little bit. Because these things don't, the book review reference isn't there. It's pretty close to what you would need. You just have to change a few things. So this would be like service reference now, service reference 1. So you'd have to change that, and if you, the thing with bringing in stuff is you have to, the hard part is making sure you change everything that needs to be changed. But it can save you a lot of work, especially like for the forms. So you don't have to rewrite everything in the form. All right, any other questions? You guys are okay? So let's give you like an hour to work, and I will give you time on Wednesday too, when I can help you, or Thursday rather. And then you have a whole week without me where you can work. Although I suspect you probably won't, but you can. And as I said, the MVC, there's wizards there if you want to play with that. It could be fun, and you could be done with that. We'll do it together, though, when I come back. I'm going to stop the video. I did a video of this so you can have an overview of what things you could work on.